What's up everyone, it's Kajani with a guide on how to get the Resplendent crafting tools for Final Fantasy XIV. The Resplendent crafting tools were introduced back in patch 5.55 as an endgame crafting activity for the most hardcore of crafters. Like, if you didn't have top-notch gear and a whole lot of patience, it really wasn't for you. However, as of patch 6.05, it's a lot easier to get the Resplendent crafting tools because our stats are good enough that we're able to use macros for the material recipes. Yup, you heard that right. You can also use macros for the expert recipes introduced in the Ishgard Restoration. I put a link in the description of the video to the folder containing all of the macros. Shout out to Dr. Momochi for putting it all together. In addition to having the correct minimum stats, you'll also need a few more things for the crafting macros to work. I went ahead and I listed them on the screen. The crafter's delineations can be purchased for white scripts at any script vendor or from the market board. The macros really take advantage of the new crafting action, Heart and Soul, that's activated upon using a crafter's delineation, and Trained Finesse. With Heart and Soul, it allows you to use Tricks of the Trade, Precise Touch, or Intensive Synthesis after using a crafter's delineation. I've commonly seen it used a few ways. One way is in your initial progress phase when you have muscle memory active along with veneration. Doing it this way lets you push progress with intensive synthesis without costing a lot of CP or relying on rapid synthesis. In your quality phase, you can use Heart and Soul to proc Precise Touch to increase quality and give you 2 stacks of Inner Quiet. It's pretty handy because it lets you get to 10 stacks of Inner Quiet a lot sooner in your craft. Lastly, if you aren't using Heart and Soul for progress or quality, you can always save it for Tricks of the Trade just in case you need some extra CP. With Trained Finesse, it does what it says it does. It's going to increase quality without costing durability. To get the most out of this job action, you'll want to get 10 stacks as soon as possible while conserving as much CP as you can. Being able to increase quality without reducing durability can sometimes be the difference between submitting something with max collectability or something with minimum collectability. One thing to also keep in mind is that if you have manipulation active, each time you use Trained Finesse, you'll actually gain back some durability. Careful observation is an important job action to use when crafting expert recipes. It lets you fish for conditions while preserving any buffs that you have in place. If RNG is on your side, you'll get that condition that you're looking for. Speaking of conditions, let's go over the conditions that you'll run into when crafting expert recipes. Whenever good is present, increases in quality are 1.5 times higher than normal. It also procs 3 job actions with Intensive Synthesis, Precise Touch, and Tricks of the Trade. Which one you'll ultimately use depends on where you're at in your craft. Hopefully the good condition lines up with your quality finisher, because when it does, you're practically guaranteed a craft at max collectability. Centered is going to increase the success rate of job actions by 25%. Whenever centered is present, it really comes down to 2 job actions. You're either going to use Hasty Touch in your quality phase, or you're going to use Rapid Synthesis in your progress phase. Sturdy gives you the opportunity to use actions that consume a lot of durability. Even if you don't use the actions listed on the screen, it still reduces durability loss, which will ultimately give you more steps to finish your craft. Pliant is my favorite condition when crafting expert recipes. By reducing the cost of actions, it gives you more CP to work with, or gives you more options down the road if you're low on CP. Malleable is ideal whenever you're in your progress phase. When crafting expert recipes, you want to push progress to a point where it'll take you 1 step to finish a craft. In one of the examples in this video, you'll see how handy a timely malleable can be. With primed, it's going to extend certain actions by 2 more turns. Hopefully you get this whenever you need to use manipulation or innovation. It also works with waste not and waste not 2. Now for an example of an expert craft. I'm going to start the progress phase by using muscle memory and then veneration. The next condition will determine what I do next. Ideally, I would have liked a malleable here. I got primed, but it's all good. So I'm going to use heart and soul and then intensive synthesis to push progress. That's going to take me about 40% of the way. Since I have sturdy here, I'm going to use groundwork because sturdy is going to reduce the durability loss of groundwork from 20 to 10. I have a good condition here, so I'm going to use intensive synthesis, and that's going to push the progress to a point where it's going to take one more step, pretty much a basic synthesis, to finish the craft. So now on to the quality phase. So I used Master's Mend there and then Waste Not 2. I got a good, so I'm going to use Tricks of the Trade, and then going to use Manipulation, got a Pliant, so that's going to reduce the cost of innovation. And then now I'm going to use Preparatory Touch until I get 10 stacks. Got a good, so I'm going to use Precise Touch there. And then now to continue to use Preparatory Touch until I have 10 stacks. So now I have 8 stacks and I got a good. So I'm definitely going to use this Precise Touch. After using Precise Touch, I'll have 10 stacks of Inner Quiet along with a lot of CP to spam Trained Finesse. So I'm going to use Innovation here and then use Trained Finesse, which lined up with the Pliant, which is great. Got a good here, so I'm going to use Precise Touch. Then back to spamming Trained Finesse. So go ahead and use another Trained Finesse. I have a good, so I'm going to use Precise Touch. And then let me see where that takes me. I'm at 1219, which is my sweet spot. I'm going to use Great Strides, which is going to increase the effectiveness of Brigot's Blessing enough that it'll make me reach max collectability. As you can see, I'm at 1219, I need to get to 16, so go ahead and use Brigot's Blessing here, and I have max collectability. I got a centered condition, so I was tempted to use Rapid Synthesis, but I'm not going to play around here. I'm just going to use Careful Synthesis, and then I'm done. Time for another example. I'm going to start off with Muscle Memory and then Veneration, and I got the coveted malleable condition in my progress phase. Time to take a risk. I'm going to use Rapid Synthesis and see where it takes me. So cross my fingers, and it was successful. As you can see, I am within one step away from completing the craft, and I have plenty of CP to work with. Sometimes with expert recipes, you just have to shoot your shot and see what happens. If that rapid synthesis didn't work, I would have used Heart and Soul and then used intensive synthesis to push progress. But don't have to worry about that. I can save Heart and Soul now for my quality phase. Speaking of which, let's get started. So I'm going to use Waste Not and then Manipulation. Then I'm going to spam Preparatory Touch until I can get about 8 stacks. Then I will use Heart and Soul to get 10 stacks of Inner Quiet. So I got Pliant here, so one more Preparatory Touch, and then I'm going to have 8 stacks, and then I'm going to use Heart and Soul. So go ahead and use Preparatory Touch. I got Pliant here. I'm at 25 durability and I have 301 CP. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and use Master's Mend here. And then I'm going to use Innovation and then, got a good. So I'm going to go ahead and use Precise Touch here. And now I have 10 stacks. I'm going to use Innovation, and then throughout the 4 steps of Innovation, I'm going to use Trained Finesse and inch the quality forward. As you can see, when I'm using Trained Finesse, the durability of the craft is not decreasing, which is a good thing. And speaking of good, I have a good condition, so I'm gonna go ahead and use Precise Touch there. I need to get collectability above 1200, then I can set up my quality finisher to get max collectability. I realized I didn't even use Heart and Soul yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Heart and Soul, and then I'm going to use Precise Touch, which is going to take me over 1200. It didn't even really matter if I use Innovation first. Alright, so now to set up the quality finisher, which is going to be Innovation, Great Strides, and then Brigot's Blessing. Let me go over to the calculations window, and as you can see, my Brigot's Blessing is 4620. Oh, sorry, I got a little lost there. It's 4620. So I'm going to go ahead and use Brigot's Blessing, and that's going to take me to max collectability. I got centered here, so I had really good luck this run. Really good RNG, so why not? Let me just use Rapid Synthesis here, just for fun. And it didn't work, so let me stop playing around. Gonna use Careful Synthesis, and then I am done. I put the steps on how to get a Resplendent crafting tool in the description of the video. With my stats, I was able to use macros to help me craft everything except for Component C. For Component C, I just manually crafted everything. Even with the macros, it still took a couple hours for each tool. But I really enjoy expert crafting, so it really wasn't a big deal to me. If you haven't realized, I am about that crafting life. So that's my video on crafting expert recipes as of patch 6.05. So let's check out what the Resplendent crafting tools actually look like.